Hello and welcome to Pardon the Integration, Agile Collaboration Solutions for a New Normal, a podcast where we tackle three top trends in the channel today. I'm your host, Ed Hannon, and my guest today is Grant Kelly, Intel Unite Technical Enablement and Sales Manager with Intel. As Intel Unite Technical Enablement and Sales Manager, Grant is the technical lead for the team, which entails driving new features and capabilities with the Intel Unite development and engineering teams as an advocate for the customers that Grant and the team work with. And I'd like to thank Grant for being here and let everyone know that, as I said, today, Grant and I are going to discuss Agile collaboration solutions for a new normal. And the way the show works is we have three topics we'll discuss throughout the broadcast, and we have 3 minutes to talk about each topic. Our first topic is relevancy and challenges of collaboration in the time of COVID. Topic 2 is the Intel Unite solution, and topic 3 is deploying the Intel Unite solution. And as you watch the program, you'll see a countdown clock on the bottom of the screen. But let's get started with our first segment, relevancy, challenges of collaboration in the time of COVID. And Grant, the first question I have for you is, what does the content sharing and collaboration landscape look like now, and how will it change as we move along through the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It's probably the high level really here is that an effective collaboration solution is more critical than it ever was before. One of the things that we actually found when we commissioned some research to determine what our own customer support needs could be, one of the bits that came out of that was really interesting to me was that by and large, the majority said that an effective collaboration solution is now considered a mission critical application. And as we look at, how that's going to change going forward, and we see that some folks are developing plans to return to work for collaboration purposes only. You don't have any meetings, you don't go into the office. But if you have meetings, you go into the office, things like that. We're looking at a couple other things factor in there about safety and what's the experience like, limiting shared surface exposure, as well as how do we notify users of what the space occupancy should be, and then how do we create that experience for folks face to face and for those that are going to be remote in those types of scenarios.
Excellent. And my next question would be, what are the biggest challenges that you're seeing in terms of effective content sharing and collaboration in the new normal?
Yeah, so, the two components that I mentioned just previously around safety and the experience, both of those are going to remain as probably the biggest challenges. And I think the experience is actually going to be the larger of those two. There's going to be things that we can do from a safety perspective. But when we start looking at the experience and how we're providing the same experience for those that are remote as the experience that the people face-to-face are getting, this especially impacts different industries, different industry segments like education. Right, as we look at remote learners and how, a teacher or a professor in the room could be sharing content and doing a whiteboard session, how is that remote learner actually participating in both of those things that are actively going on? So I think that experiential aspect is probably going to be one of the largest challenge areas.
Excellent. And then my next question would be, what's needed to best address content sharing and collaboration needs both now and in the future?
Yeah, and I think this boils down to, a couple straightforward things. It needs to be very simple and easy to use, and yet very feature rich. We need to have all of the capabilities associated with content sharing and collaboration, but it needs to be very, very simple. We also need to make this as compatible as we possibly can across any type of device that people are going to be sharing content from. So as we look at, what people could potentially be walking into collaboration spaces with or collaborating remotely with, all of the different devices that are at their disposal, we need to be able to support all of those effectively. And then I think the final component is around adaptability or agility, right? What are the integration options that are available or configuration options? How can we make this broadly applicable across all types of collaboration spaces, regardless of whether they're defined collaboration spaces or ad hoc collaboration spaces?
Excellent. Let's move to segment 2, the Intel Unite solution. First question, how does the Intel Unite solution address the varying levels of technological savvy in end users that we just discussed?
Yeah, and I think the key component there is really the simple and easy to use, almost to a point to where it's intuitive. So with Intel Unite at the very basic, we're not adding any features or anything to be able to accomplish this. Essentially, it boils down to a couple very simple steps. You launch the application, you enter a code that you see on the screen that's in the room, and then you click present. So very simple, very easy, very straightforward. And most of the time, there's instructions that are on the screen in the interface for the application that you're sharing the content from on your own personal device. It really leads you to, there's nothing else that you can do to really get started. You enter the 6-digit PIN and you click present. So very simple, very easy, and very intuitive.
Excellent. My next question is, how does the Intel Unite solution demonstrate the agility required as these organizations experiment with new approaches?
Yeah, there's a couple parts to this one, right? So Intel Unite is a software-based solution. And so the display in the room is basically powered by a PC. Really what that constitutes is an open architecture that you can continue to build on with all types of integration, including UC integrations, things like unified conferencing platforms. You can integrate that, so extending the collaboration that's going on in that room is as simple as a couple other clicks. As we look at that open architecture, there's a couple other parts that come out from that. The modular design of it, use what you need. There are different parts that you can assign to the configuration. You don't have to necessarily include all of those different parts. You can keep it very simple for some spaces, make it more capable in other places, and provide any type of configuration you need to. As well as those configuration options extend to enabling additional use cases, like running this in parallel with digital signage solutions, so that now any digital signage screen in your organization becomes a collaboration space as well.
Excellent. And my next question is, what does the Intel Unite solution offer that would address a risk of infection and an aversion to close contact and shared surfaces that could easily persist into 2021 and even beyond that?
So there's a couple things that are available right now. We classify these as back to work safely and back to school safely. Where we make things available like the system administrators in cooperation with the folks that are determining what are the proper occupancy limits for each one of these spaces, can define those and put them right on the screens. So we're not looking at placards that could easily be lost and things like that. What we're doing is we're putting the instructions for limiting the occupancy of that space right on the screen. In addition to, with Unite, there's essentially no shared surfaces. There's not a center of room control, and front of room control is not absolutely necessary. And it's a wireless screen sharing and collaboration solution. You're not passing cables or dongles. So as we avoid those shared surfaces, shared components like the cables and dongles, we're limiting exposure to, potential risk factors associated with, someone touching that, so on and so forth. As we look at things going forward, we'll be extending that back to work safely and back to school safely with things like using sensor data to help inform cleaning crews, which rooms have been used more than others, as well as sensing how many occupants are in the room and issuing warnings if we exceed those limits, and so on and so forth.
Pretty powerful stuff, and it's definitely needed in these crazy times that we live in. Let's move on to segment 3, though, deploying the Intel Unite solution. So first question, what is actually needed to deploy and manage the Intel Unite solution?
So there's really a couple different options. You can deploy Intel Unite on-prem, or you can deploy Intel Unite using the Intel Unite cloud service, excuse me. The solution has a meeting hub in the room, and that meeting hub is really a PC. It's a managed PC that runs a part of the solution, one of the applications. You can run these PCs with any of the configurations that I've mentioned previously, but essentially those compute devices can be things like the Intel NUC Mini PC.
Excellent. And then next question, you actually just mentioned the Intel NUC Mini PCs. Some of our viewers may not be as familiar with Intel as a PC manufacturer, so can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The Intel NUC is a tiny, PC small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, and the NUC Pro line can be managed remotely. So this leverages our vPro processors in that, and it avoids the need for costly and time-consuming on-site support visits. And the fully scalable mini PC with the latest Intel Core processors supports things like 4K visuals as well as a 3-year warranty.
Excellent. And then the next question I have is, how can those of you who are watching and listening to today's program, learn more about the Intel Unite solution and compatible room hubs, such as an Intel NUC Mini PC?
Yeah, absolutely. Your first stop shop is going to be intel.com there. Specifically for the Intel Unite solution, you can go to www.intel.com/unite. Intel partners can take advantage of training on the Intel Partner University site, including the Intel Partner Solutions Pro competencies for both of those products.
Excellent. And I know we have some resources that I think we'll be putting up on the screen here in a couple of minutes, but that unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. So Grant, thanks for being here. And before we go, let me just share some takeaways from today's program. And Grant was great. And I could have done probably double or triple of these, but real quick, content sharing and collaboration in hybrid work environments where people are in the office and remote must be simple and easy to use, but also feature rich. And it also must be compatible across any device that people will share content from, and adaptability and agility must be factored in. That's the first one. Second one, Intel Unite solves all these challenges through simplicity. It actually allows you to launch the application, enter a code, and click present. It's just that easy to use. And finally, you can deploy Intel Unite on-prem or through the cloud. And the solution, the Intel Unite solution, actually offers features that will address risk of infection and an aversion to close contact and shared surfaces that unfortunately may be with us until 2021 or even beyond. Like I said, we've got some resources that we're going to show you up on the screen here. And I'm just going to say once again, thanks so much for everyone for watching and listening to today's program. And once again, I'm Ed Hannon, and you've been watching Pardon the Integration, Agile Collaboration Solutions for a New Normal.